Alright, today we've got an interesting project. This is a giant Asian centipede, and this was someone's pet, and it died. We're not really sure what happened to it. Something was wrong, and it came to me, and I'm going to make a specimen out of it. There's some special challenges for a centipede to get it to look nice. The exoskeleton is fairly soft, as in some of the arachnids. So to dry it out properly, it does need to be soaked in a solvent. I've been soaking it in alcohol here for, I don't know, a few months. And this dissolves out the fats and kills all the bacteria and stuff in it. There's a lot of legs here, and the legs themselves are very soft too, actually, relatively soft. So they can get kind of curled up. And the antennas are very also flexible and tend to get curled up and, you know, sort of out of shape when they dry. So now this it's fairly large, but I don't know if it's going to need to be stuffed or not. A really big one, I think you'd want to pull out the guts and stuff it like you would a big arachnid. But I'm going to size this up. It actually feels pretty firm. I think we might get away with just being able to pin it up. So I'm going to put it on some paper towel here and try and get some of the alcohol off of it, out of it, just to make it a little easier to work with. Alright, got a piece of styrofoam to spread it on. You can see this thing's a bit curled, so I'm going to manipulate it a bit to try and straighten it out. Just put some tension on it to try and get it more straight. You can pin these just straight up like this. I sometimes pin them in kind of an S curve, just to make them a little like this, just to make them a little more dynamic. But I think I'm gonna pin this one up just straight. Yeah, I'll pin this one up just straight. I'm probably going to donate this one to my friend who's starting the insectarium in Portland as a specimen for her display collection. Yeah, okay. Now there's a couple different ways you can do this. You could actually put a pin through it. It's so long that one pin, while it will hold it in place, it's not really adequate to support the whole thing. Sometimes I pin them, I don't actually put a pin through them, I just put bracing pins on either side like this to hold it straight. And then as a specimen you can just set it down and use pins like this to hold the specimen in the position you want it in. And I may go for that. I think I'm going to go for that this time. You can see that this thing has gotten stiff and that it's in this naturally curled position, bent. So by putting pins along the length of the body, I'll probably get it as straight as it can be. Before I start trying to position it, I'm going to manipulate the legs. These legs are fairly stiff, and I'm going to take each leg and pull it out to try and get it loosened up a little bit. They are fairly stiff. There, I'm just going to do this one at a time. I did pull one leg off. These are fairly sturdy and well attached, so I was able to pull on them pretty hard, but this one came off from right here. I can glue that back on. It's best, of course, not to pull them off. And you can see that helped a lot. It got the legs more out in the position where we want them. Again, soaking them in alcohol like this makes them kind of stiff, so if this was fresh, it would be much easier to manipulate all of this, but then it would also not dry out nearly as well as after it's been soaked. So I'm going to use these fairly stiff pins and brace it quite a lot along the length of the body, and I can straighten out the segments as I go along too, and get them to all line up nicely. Now I'm going to pull the jaws out. The jaws on a centipede are actually modified legs, and they're very sturdy, very sharp, venomous, really painful. I've never been bit by one, but I have talked to people who have, and they said it's excruciatingly painful. This is only a moderately sized one, actually. They get quite a bit bigger than this. The certain species do, anyway. And I do see them in the southwest in Arizona. There's Scolopendra polymorpha, which is pretty common. And then there's another one called Scolopendra heros, which is much larger, about this big, maybe even a little bigger. And it's sort of an orange body with a black head and a black tail. It's not very common. I've seen a few of them, but they're definitely to be avoided. Avoid contact with them. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now I can just use my tweezers and kind of get the legs out in the general position I want them in. You can see the antennas are starting to curl up already as they're drying, so I think I'm going to address those right away. I'm going to use a series of pins to brace the antenna to try and keep them from curling up so much, in a more natural looking position. I'm going to just put a pin on either side to brace it. I'm going to pull on the tip a little bit just to try and straighten it out. There we go. And that should hold it in place all right. We'll try and get the other side roughly in the same position. I can pull on it a little bit to get it straight. As many pins as you need. Yeah, that looks very good. Now, there's different ways to deal with these legs too. To have them just evenly spaced like this will certainly make all the features obvious and apparent, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is kind of boring though, and you don't typically see them just sitting there with all their legs like this. I've done some things in the past where, you know, as the legs move, they sort of rotate in a wave like this, and you can kind of imitate that by putting some of the legs together like this. So it kind of makes it more dynamic. You see what I'm doing? Sort of clustering groups of legs pointing together as if the animal's walking. If you freeze a video of one of these walking, you can sort of see the positions that the legs are in. Little groupings like that. I think in this case I'm just going to have them all out fairly even, just because this is going to be part of the Portland Insectarium's display collection, and people can see all the legs. It's kind of fun too, because people think Centipede has 100 legs, and none of them have 100 legs. It just means a lot. They have 42 legs, and then some other species, genera, families even, maybe the soil centipedes have more than 100 legs, but I believe most all of them have 42. So I'm just placing each individual leg to try and get it fairly straight, not completely stretched out, so it's got a little bit of curve to it. Gives it the feeling that there are muscles in there, active in there. And then on the back end, we'll take a few pins here and maybe prop up. They've got these very large legs in the back. All of these legs have very sharp claws, and when these centipedes get a hold of a prey item, especially a fairly large prey item, they'll wrap their body around it and dig all of these claws into it. It's pretty effective. They are definitely intimidating creatures. I think they're beautiful, and I love to see them, but I'm always careful about them because you just don't want to get bit. They're very aggressive. A lot of these arthropods, they won't bite you unless you're holding it and poking at it. And these, I think, you just touch them, they'll whip around and bite you. They're just very, very aggressive. At least the ones I've encountered are. And then people keep them for pets. It's not something that you would ever actually pet. It's just an interesting specimen. And you can, get to know these things by keeping a specimen in captivity. You can learn about, how do they move and how do they feed, and, what the nature of them. I think that's, people sometimes ask, why would someone keep a nasty creature like this in their home? I think it's to learn about them, to really understand them. And they are fascinating and beautiful in their own way. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to glue this leg back on, and since it's a fairly big leg and there is a little hollow in the middle and a little hollow space there, I think I'm going to fabricate a little stick of wood, a little shaved piece of toothpick that will help hold that leg in place rather than just glue. So let's do that. I've just got a simple wooden toothpick here, and I'm just going to shave with a razor blade. I'm going to shave a little end piece off. That should do. And we'll put the thicker end into the body of the centipede. Let's see if that fits. Yeah, there it goes. And then the leg should slide on to the skinnier bit. Here, I'll put it into the leg first. Let's make sure that fits. Oh yeah. Yep, goes right in there. I'm going to put a little glue on that, so when it's dry it's really held in place. I'm just going to put a little dot of glue in the opening, and then push the little toothpick end in, put the sharp end in. There we go. And I'll put a little bit of glue on the end of the piece of wood. And then I'm going to insert this into the hole in the body where the leg broke off. really get it in there. It's having trouble going in. I'm going to try and open up this hole a little bit. Oh yeah, that's better. Okay. Now I'll insert this in. Yeah, that's better. And then get that leg in the right position. Yeah, I find it's always best if I can to put a little brace in there, a section of pin or a piece of wood or something, just to give it a little bit more for the adhesive to grab onto. And you have to anticipate that these things might be around for a long time, so if you do a good job of preparing them, they'll last a lot longer. Use a few more pins to brace these legs here. Yeah, I'm just going to work these a little bit more to get a little curvature on them. The tips of these legs are very sharp, and it sinks into the styrofoam nicely, and that helps hold it in place. And when I pick it up, once it's dry, they'll just come right out of there. Here, this one's a little crooked. I'll have to use a pin on that one. Straighten it out. There. Okay. And we'll just set this and let it dry. It's been a couple of weeks and the specimen's dried. There's a little bit of wrinkling, but other than that, it really dried pretty well. I think this, we could have stuffed it, but I don't think that would have really made much difference. I think it's about as good as we could expect. So I'm going to pull the pins now. Now, since we didn't put a pin through this one, I have to lift it gently. Oh yeah, dried out really well. The antenna is shriveled up slightly, but they are fragile. Overall, they look pretty good. Now, normally this would be the point we'd put a data label on this. It was a captive specimen. I don't really know what species it is. I suspect it was Scolopendra subspinipes, but I'm not really sure. I think they call that the redhead Vietnamese. I'm pretty sure it's an Asian one just because that's where they come into the pet trade for specimens. But since I don't really have that data, I'm just going to hold off putting a label on it. This will probably be used as a display specimen at a museum, so we can get somebody to try and identify and figure out what it is. But it turned out pretty good. I think it looks great. We can do a size comparison here. This is the one we just finished, and it's about 6 inches. Yeah. This is another one from New Mexico. This is Scolopendra polymorpha from the United States. That one's about 4.5 inches. And here's another subspines. This one's bent, but it's about 7 maybe inches. And then here's a really big one. And this one is 9.5 inches long. So I think that's probably just about maximum size. Here's the one we just did for comparison. These are pretty venomous. If they bite, it's very painful. I wouldn't want to get bit by that big one.